Preface. Renowned for his brilliance in academia and medicine, a remarkably productive author skilled in the arts of alchemy, astrology, and mystical practices. A devout theologian who advocated for reform, and a trusted advisor to both monarchs and pontiffs, Arnold de Villanova was known for his occasional perplexity and propensity for deception. Arnold of Villanova, an enigmatic and vibrant character from the medieval era, emerges as one of the most captivating personalities of his time. Despite the scarcity of information regarding his early years, even the exact location and year of his birth remaining uncertain due to the abundance of new burghs bearing the name. His Spanish heritage and Catalan roots are believed to have shaped his origins. Born within the Diocese of Valencia, it is presumed that Arnold entered this world between the years 1235 and 1240. Stemming from a modest background fraught with poverty. In the preface of his notable work, De Vinis, Arnold reflects on the adversity he endured in his youth. Navigating the tumultuous anxieties that accompanied destitution, his education commenced in one of the Dominican schools established specifically for impoverished children, where he acquired his early learning. Throughout his life, his Latin composition would remain substandard, prompting observations on the impoverished quality of his written language. Details pertaining to his medical training remain somewhat elusive, with suggestions that he may have pursued studies both in Naples and in Valencia, where he immersed himself in the teachings of Arabic physicians. Although Valencia had been conquered by the House of Aragon, remnants of Moorish scholars persisted, having converted to Christianity while preserving their intellectual legacy. Undoubtedly, Arnold possessed a deep understanding of the Arabic language, and had dedicated himself to the extensive study of esteemed Arabian scholars. His role as a teacher in Montpellier and his written works solidified his reputation as a prominent disseminator and interpreter of Arabic medicine. However, for a span of more than 30 years, Arnold's life remains shrouded in obscurity, only to resurface abruptly in 1285 when he garners recognition as a renowned physician summoned to Villafranca to attend to King Peter III of Aragon. The circumstances surrounding his absence during that period may forever elude us, but it becomes evident that fame did not come without effort. Arnold possessed ambition and a resolute determination to forge ahead in the world, amassing wealth and renown. Those undisclosed years likely entailed rigorous toil, immersed in medical practice and multifaceted studies. Subsequently, he journeyed to Montpellier, where he would spend numerous years practicing medicine and instructing at the university. Alongside Salerno, Montpellier stood as an early hub of medical education, with references to magistri physici appearing in documents as early as the 10th century. A collegial society of physicians, akin to Salerno, presumably flourished. An edict in 1180 decreed that physicians, regardless of their origins, were entitled to teach medicine without hindrance. In 1220, the formal chartering of the medical school, known as the Universitas Medicorum, took place, followed by the establishment of the university in 1289. It is plausible that Arnold joined the faculty during this time, playing a significant role in enhancing its reputation, thereby attracting students from across Europe. The year 1299 marked the commencement of a new phase in Arnold's life when he was appointed as the ambassador of James II of Aragon, dispatched to Paris on a mission to the French king. This period ushered in a multitude of challenges. Although the mission primarily revolved around minor border disputes, it would be the Parisian Dominicans who presented obstacles. Arnold had authored several theological treatises, one of which included a prophecy concerning the arrival of the Antichrist, even specifying a date, 1378. This unorthodox proclamation caught the attention and ire of the Inquisition. On December 18, 1299, Arnold received an invitation to meet with the Inquisition's chairman, leading to his subsequent arrest. The intervention of influential allies secured his release the following morning, albeit upon posting a substantial bail of £3,000. Nonetheless, he faced trial and conviction, with his incriminating treatise condemned to be burned. Arnold vehemently protested against the verdict, steadfastly maintaining his stance. Arnold vehemently contested the sentence, emphasizing his role as an ambassador to a king. However, this incident marked the inception of a lasting animosity between him and the Dominicans. They pursued him relentlessly, but their efforts were in vain as long as he enjoyed the protection of influential rulers. Disturbed by the verdict, Arnold resolved to seek the intervention of Pope Boniface VIII, embarking on a journey to Rome in early 1301. The Pope diplomatically addressed the matter by expressing approval of the Paris Inquisition's decision while personally refraining from condemning Arnold's treatise. Given the Pope's ailment, a chronic stone disease, He eagerly sought Arnold's expertise, which brought him relief and led to his appointment as the papal physician, a position he held until the spring of 1302. From 1302 until his death in 1311, Arnold found himself in esteemed positions serving both popes and monarchs. He administered medical care, interpreted dreams, undertook diplomatic missions, and authored numerous books. His clash with the Inquisition persisted, resulting in occasional arrests followed by subsequent releases. He rendered his services to Popes Benedict Xi and Clement V, endeavoring to persuade the latter of the urgency to reform the Church. He graced the courts of James II of Aragon and Frederick III of Sicily. Such was the fervor of his religious conviction that both the Queen of Aragon and the Queen of Sicily sold their jewels and initiated reforms within their courts. In 1310, he composed a renowned memorandum for Frederick III, proposing extensive governmental reforms for Sicily. The aim was to administer the state based on Christian principles, with the king setting an example through the purity of his personal life. Reflecting the prevailing sentiment of the era, the memorandum requested Jews to convert to Christianity within a year or leave the country, a regulation already enacted in England and France a few years earlier. Additionally, it forbade Christian patients from seeking advice from Jewish physicians. Arnold defended this stance, arguing that it was impossible to have faith in those who had not the faith, nor could those be loyal to others who had surrendered their Lord. Strikingly, Arnold's recommendations were indeed implemented, solidifying his influence. Arnold's influence resonated profoundly within the Kingdom of Sicily, leaving an indelible mark. His interactions with Robert of Anjou, the King of Naples, and a patron of Petrarch and Boccaccio, further solidified his presence. Despite never serving in Robert's employ, Arnold dedicated several of his writings to him, highlighting their intellectual rapport. His adversaries, harboring animosity, yearned for his demise at the stake. However, destiny had an alternative fate in store. On one of his frequent maritime expeditions, Arnold tragically met his end, succumbing to drowning in the Mediterranean within sight of the shoreline. In early December 13th. His final resting place lies in Genoa. Physically evading the clutches of the Inquisition, Arnold's written works continued to thrive, posing a formidable threat. Particularly perilous were those penned in the vernacular and the Catalan language, capable of infiltrating the minds of lay people and even women. On November 8, 1316, during a Tarragona session, the Inquisition pronounced 13 of his theological writings as heretical. At long last, the Dominicans had triumphed over him. However, his other literary creations endured, carrying his renown through the ages. Above all, he is remembered as one of the eminent physicians and esteemed medical authors of his era. Second, the Treatise on wines. Arnold of Villanova's literary output was undeniably prolific, as discussed by Horo. While it is true that many attributed works may be spurious, his immense body of written works remains a testament to his considerable productivity. Numerous manuscripts preserve most of his writings, with 9 of them even being printed prior to 1500s. Among the notable publications is the work of Thomas Murchi, an Italian physician from Genoa who compiled and published 55 treatises of Arnold's research after years of collecting manuscripts. This collection, titled Ecce sunt Arnaldi de Villanova quae in hoc volumen continenter, was initially published in Lyon in 1504. It subsequently saw reprints in Venice in 1505, Lyon in 1509, and a revised edition in Lyon in 1520, which included additional treatises along with an uncritical biography of Arnold by Symphorien Champier. The enduring influence of Arnold's works is evident in the repeated publications and widespread availability of his writings, solidifying his place as a prominent figure in the realms of medicine, alchemy, and intellectual pursuits. The Liber de Vinis, a significant treatise by Arnold of Villanova, appears in various editions throughout history. In 1532, it was published in Lyon, followed by a Basel edition in 1585 with annotations by Nicholas Aurelius. In 1586, the medical and non-medical writings were printed separately in 2 volumes, once again in Lyon. Before these editions, the Liber de Vinis had been published independently around 1500s by Felix Balagot in Paris for Claude Jamar and Thomas Julian. Its title was Incipit Tractatus de Vinis Editus a Magistro Arnaldo de Villanova. Additionally, Melchior Lotter printed it in Leipzig around the same time as Arnaldi de Villanova Liber de Vinis, while Lyon saw another printing circa 1500s. Including the Regimen Sanitatis of Magninus and several other treatises, although the first edition and the Opera edition undoubtedly present the same treatise. They are not entirely identical due to variations resulting from being printed from different manuscripts. The initial edition lacks the introduction, and subsequent prints feature a few additional chapters. The dedication of the treatise in the Latin editions is to an unnamed king. Determining the identity of this king aids in dating the text. The German edition refers to Arnold as the eminent physician of the King of France and suggests that the book was written for the King of France, potentially either Philip III, potentially either 85, potentially either Philip III. However, this is incorrect since Arnold never served the French court as a physician to the king. An abbreviated Hebrew translation of de Vinis found in the Bibliothèque Nationale proves more insightful. It mentions Robert of Naples as the dedicated king, which is highly probable given that Arnold dedicated other short treatises to the same monarch, such as De Conservanda Juventud Iteretaranda Senectute and the Epistola Super Alchimia ad Regem Neapolitanum. If this information is accurate, which I have no reason to doubt, we can establish a relatively precise date for the treatise. Robert of Anjou ascended to the throne of Naples in August 1309, and Arnold passed away in December 1311. Therefore, the book must have been written between 1309 and 1311. Arnold's mention of writing the book in Africa aligns well with these dates. In the Latin dedicatory preface, he states, Indiscretus fortuni impetus, commovit super me aquonem et eduxit me in Africam ad miserem ipsam. In other words, while sailing in the Mediterranean, he was unfortunate enough to be driven by the north wind to the African coast, where he experienced extreme hardship. During this time, while awaiting rescue, he wrote the book and found solace in the process. It is known that Arnold undertook extensive travels between 1309 and 1311. In August 1309, he was in Avignon, where he had diplomatic missions to Clement V and Robert of Naples. From there, he proceeded to Sicily. Towards the end of the year, he sailed from Sicily to Almeria in Spain, and in January 1310, he returned to Sicily. Given Robert's shared interest in alchemy and Arnold's frequent visits to Naples while serving at the court of Frederick III in Sicily, it is highly plausible that the incident driving him to Africa occurred during one of these voyages. In the Liber de Vinis, Arnold focused solely on the medicinal aspect of wine. His interest did not lie in wine as a beverage, but rather in medicated wines used for the treatment of diseases or as part of an individual's regimen. Wine held a significant place in ancient dietetics, and the practice of adding spices and drugs to wine is ancient. Some of these medicated wines, such as the Candida that often contained pepper, were consumed as appetizers. A direct lineage can be traced from these early Candida to the modern-day aromatic wines like vermouths, Dubonnet, Pernod, Bitter Campari, and others. The Mediterranean countries in particular have maintained this tradition, while northern and Anglo-Saxon countries have leaned toward using hard liquors as appetizers, leading to the development of cocktails. Ancient medicated wines also served as specific remedies prescribed by practitioners for various ailments and conditions. These wines had different formulations based on the desired therapeutic effects and the specific needs of the patient. The medical use of wine has a long history, with ancient physicians such as Dioscorides, Galen, and others providing numerous recipes for medicated wines. This tradition continued in medieval times, where the Regimens Sanitatis and works of medical writers frequently mentioned the preparation of medicinal wines. However, Arnold's treatise on the subject was one of the first dedicated exclusively to this topic and quickly became authoritative. Arnold was well versed in the ancient medical literature that had been translated into Latin or Arabic. While he occasionally quoted figures like Hippocrates, Dioscorides, Galen, and Macrobius, it was evident that he did so from memory and never simply copied their work. His treatise reflects both the knowledge of his time and his personal experiences. He mentions specific cases, such as a lady from Paris with occasional bouts of madness and a cardinal with urinary issues. Arnold often speaks in the first person singular, emphasizing his own testing and observations. His theoretical views align with the traditional Galenic and Arabic principles, where drugs, humors, and diseases were categorized based on elemental qualities. And treatments followed the principle of contraria contrarius curantur, treating with opposites. Two noteworthy points in Arnold's book deserve special mention. Firstly, he makes a reference to oculari or eyeglasses in the chapter De Vino Euphrasiaco pro Oculises on eye bright wine. Arnold states that reliable individuals who required eyeglasses could read small letters without them after consuming the wine. Spectacles came into use between 1280 and 1300s, and Arnold's book, written around 1310, provides early evidence of their usage. Secondly, he repeatedly mentions aqua ardens, which refers to alcohol. While the distillation of wine had been practiced for centuries and Thaddeus Florentinus had written about the virtues of aquavitae or aqua ardens alcohol in the early 14th century, it was not yet widely used. The mention of alcohol in Arnold's book may be attributed to his dual role as both a physician and an alchemist. This connection becomes evident in the chapter De Vino Extinctionis Auri, wine in which gold has been quenched. In this chapter, the wine is presented as a remedy for the heart, as alchemists and astrologers believe that gold corresponded to the heart, and the sun, as the governing planet of gold, influenced the blood. Arnold's treatise on wines quickly gained popularity. It provided remedies that could be prepared not only by apothecaries, but also by lay people. The practical nature of the information made it tempting to have the treatise translated into vernacular languages. Third, there was a German edition of Liber de Vinis. Arnold's Liber de Vinis found its way into a German translation by Wilhelm von Herrenkofen, also known as Renwart. The preface of the book provides us with some information about Wilhelm. His father, Jorig von Herrenkofen, gained recognition for his military achievements in Ennarrenburg, leading to the surname Renwart. Wilhelm, in turn, served the city of Ennarrenburg in 1478. During the 15th and early 16th centuries, Ennarrenburg was a well-governed and prosperous German city. It held importance as a trading hub, facilitating trade between Venice and the northern regions. The city was known for its flourishing arts and crafts scene and boasted exquisite Gothic buildings. Prominent scholars, including mathematician Regiomontanus, cosmographer Martin Behaim, and humanist Willibald Pirkheimer and Hartmann Skettel resided in Ennarrenburg. While Wilhelm von Herrenkofen's specific role in Ennarrenburg remains unknown, he was undoubtedly an educated individual well-versed in Latin and well-read. It is possible that he held the position as a clerk or lawyer, as every city required administrative professionals of that nature. Interestingly, Wilhelm explicitly stated that he was not a physician, expressing concern that medical professionals might take offense at his translation of a medical book. He was, however, an enthusiast or connoisseur of the subject matter. During his leisure time, Herrenkofen undertook the task of translating Arnold's treatise. He worked diligently and completed the translation shortly after October 2nd, 1478. In a gesture of respect, he dedicated his work to the mayor and councillors of Ennarrenburg, his employers. It is interesting to note the contrasting tones between Herrenkofen's dignified preface and Arnold's servile approach. 16, this contrast reflects the difference between serving a king in the early 14th century and serving a free imperial city in the 15th century, where guilds had their representatives in the city council. Upon comparing the German translation to the original Latin text, significant differences become apparent. Herrenkofen's book is organized into 7 sections, distinct from the Latin original. 1. Gathering of grapes and preservation of wine. 2. Signs indicating that wine is spoiling. 3. Restoration of spoiled wine. 4. Drawing off wine from one keg into another. 5. Changing the color and taste of wine. 6. Medicinal wines. 7. Making of vinegar and the preservation of beer. Out of 7 sections in Herrenkofen's translation, only the 6th section accurately renders Arnold's original text. The remaining sections, comprising nearly half of the book, are entirely new and unrelated to Arnold's work. Upon closer examination, it becomes evident that Herrenkofen significantly abbreviated Arnold's text in his translation. The German edition includes only 26 of the 41 wines from the original Latin edition, and even fewer compared to the 49 wines in the 1585 opera edition. The translation of the text in the German edition lacks the full breadth and depth of Arnold's original work. The remaining 6 sections of the book offer valuable insights into the art of winemaking during that time. These sections are not medical in nature, but provide guidance on the preservation and restoration of wine, catering to those who made their own wine or purchased it in barrels. Herrenkofen's book served as a practical manual, offering advice and recipes, and even shedding light on deceptive practices employed by wine dealers. The question arises regarding the sources of Herrenkofen's content. While he claimed to have simply translated Arnold's treatise from Latin to German without any alterations, it is possible that he had a Latin manuscript that was already a compilation from various sources attributed to Arnold. He may have translated it sincerely without realizing that only a portion of it was truly authored by Arnold. However, Herrenkofen should have noticed the distinct break in the book between sections 5 and 6, where the text introduces Arnold's treatise. This indicates that the German edition comprises multiple sources. Another possibility, albeit less likely, is that Herrenkofen himself acted as the compiler. He may have felt the need to omit certain passages from Arnold's text and include additional content on wine preservation and restoration, thereby creating a blended presentation. The possibility of Herrnkofen being the author of sections 1-5 and 7 can be dismissed. Had he written them, he would have likely composed them directly in German, but the text gives a strong impression of being translated from Latin. This is evident not only from references to figures like Socrates and Plato, but also from phrases such as the north wind, or the wind called aquilo, or midnight septentrio in Latin. To unravel the mystery of Herrnkofen's additional sources beyond Arnold, we must delve into the wine literature of the late Middle Ages. It is clear that other treatises on the subject existed, although most of them remain in manuscript form and have yet to be published. However, there is an intriguing little treatise that was printed, likely in Rome around 1480. It was subsequently reprinted in Padua in 1483 and Rome in 1495. This anonymous work bears the title Tractatus de Vino et Aius Proprietate and begins with the preface, which can be translated into English as follows. I've understood that the human race suffers in our days from many diseases and incurs considerable harm, which in my judgment and opinion comes from no other cause than bad management of drink. I have decided to obviate this and have set myself the task of composing a little treatise on the preservation of wine, which I think will bring benefit, if not to all, yet to the majority of people. If they clearly understand the precepts set forth in this treatise, they will not experience such great harm in general, and will escape the very serious diseases that had resulted from this cause. Farewell and happiness. Then follows a table of contents with 21 chapters, and the text commences, De Vindemis capitulum primum. Primo nota de vindemis curavina que ante plena maturitat fueron collecta in firma aficionatur. A comparison of this Latin treatise with Herrnkofen's book reveals that the Latin text is identical to Herrnkofen's sections 1/5 and 7. There are slight variations, minor additions, and omissions, as is common in this type of text, but their identity cannot be doubted. Now we have identified Herrnkofen's second Latin source, and we can envision the literary process that took place. In the mid-15th century, there were manuscripts of Arnold of Villanova's treatise on medicinal wines, as well as an anonymous manuscript treatise on wine preservation. The person responsible for the compilation, whose identity is unknown, had the idea of combining these two treatises for the benefit of the reader. Since one treatise had an attributed author and the other did not, the entire compilation was attributed to Arnold. Herrnkofen obtained a manuscript of this compilation and faithfully translated it from Latin into German, as he states. The Latin compilation was never printed and remained known only to those who had manuscripts of it. Herrnkofen's German translation, on the other hand, was printed and gained popularity. There is one remaining problem that I am currently unable to resolve. Soethoff mentions a 1497 print, an 8-page booklet printed in Erfurt by Hans Spohr titled Von allen Geberschen der Wein. Weimann in Helfensoll MET Burer Meisterlicher und Natürlicher Kunst on Alebisi Schmier, ZW Beweren die Gesuntit der Menschen. This booklet may be another German translation of the Latin treatise De Vino et Aius Proprietate, or it may have some connection to it. Unfortunately, I cannot confirm this, as the book is not available in any American library, and access to European libraries is currently restricted due to the war. By translating and printing the compilation on wines under Arnold's name, Herrnkofen created a popular little book. The first edition was printed, published with no specific location or year indicated, but in reality shortly after October 2nd, 1478 in Esslingen by Conrad Feiner. The first edition of this book emerged. Over the course of the next 2 decades until 1500s, it underwent 11 reprints, followed by an additional 10 editions from 1503 until the mid to 16th century. This remarkable accomplishment resulted in a total of 21 editions within the span of a century, solidifying its resounding success. Fourth observations on the current publication. The philologist does not favor the notion of translating a translation. When approached by Henry Schumann to undertake the translation of Arnold's wine book from the initial German edition, the philologist was taken aback. A belief emerged that if the book were to be translated, it should be from the original Latin text. Extensive research into the Latin prints revealed significant variations, leading to the realization that a critical edition must precede any translation endeavor. However, the production of a critical edition necessitated surveying existing manuscripts, conducting visits to European libraries, and gathering photostats and microfilms. Only then could the original text be reconstructed and published with an apparatus criticus, detailing important manuscript variants. It was at that stage, and only then, that it would be deemed appropriate to translate Arnold's treatise into English. Doubts arose as to whether the text justified the laborious process. The philologist's conscientious nature often resulted in leaving tasks unfinished. Consequently, a decision was reached that the text did not warrant such extensive efforts. Moreover, a latent feeling stemming from past philological training seemed to suggest that those unable to read Latin were undeserving of access to such texts. Thus, the philologist regretfully declined Henry Schumann's request, expressing an inability to undertake the task. Nevertheless, publishers are known for their persistence. Henry Schumann refused to give up and sought to entice the philologist by providing a photostatic copy of the initial German edition. Upon reading it, the philologist was captivated. It became evident that the book held much more than just Arnold's work. It stood as a remarkable publication in its own right. Its comprehensive exploration encompassed not only medicated wines for specific ailments, but also the broader enjoyment of wine. Gradually, the philologist overcame reservations and agreed to embark on the project. A reproduction of the initial German edition merits consideration, not only for being the earliest printed book on wines, but also due to its rarity. Practical books like this one were often well used and worn out, while numerous well-preserved copies of Vesalius' Fabrica exist, as it was extensively read by only a limited number of individuals, the epitome. Intended for practical use in the dissection room, is exceedingly scarce. Similarly, Herrnkofen's little book, with its practical focus, would have been consulted by many readers who ventured into their cellars to inspect wines, sought guidance on vinegar, encountered issues with beer, or encountered illnesses within their households. Anticipating a favorable reception, the English translation is likely to be appreciated by readers, including those proficient in modern German, as Herrnkofen's 15th century South German dialect proves challenging. The translation process, admittedly, presented numerous difficulties, causing considerable contemplation. The Latin text of Arnold served as a valuable resource when Herrnkofen closely adhered to it. However, such adherence is only evident in certain portions of the book, and success would have been doubtful without a comprehensive understanding of Swiss German dialects and the language employed by Paracelsus. Nonetheless, it is hoped that any potential missteps have been minimized. The author expresses sincere gratitude to their collaborator, Genevieve Miller, for her invaluable assistance in preparing the translation and introduction. Furthermore, commendation is extended to Henry Schumann for his commendable initiative. The collective aspiration is that this little book will find a multitude of admirers. Its contents will enlighten readers on the care and nurturing of wines as practiced centuries ago, while the medical section may offer suggestions to enhance cocktails for the well-being of their livers, spleens, brains, and other vital organs. Arnold of Villanova's Book on Wines, translated to modern English from the German version of Wilhelmvonhirnkofen by Christopher Templesage, followed by a facsimile of the Editio Princeps Esslingen, Conrad Feiner, 1478. A note to the reader. To the wise and respected individuals who hold knowledge and embrace the natural world, this humble offering is presented. It is with sincere dedication and insight that this work is shared. Inspired by the teachings of the wise, the translation of a valuable Latin treatise by the learned physician Arnaldus de Villanova has been undertaken. This treatise delves into the diverse types, qualities, and preparations of wines and the beneficial impact they can have on our well-being. Recognizing the significance of this knowledge, it is now bestowed upon those who seek wisdom and have a deep connection to the earth. Should any wise women, pagan herb gatherers, or forest-dwelling folk desire to explore the art of winemaking for the betterment of themselves and their communities, this translated treatise is offered. With the abundance of nature's harvest, the timing is ideal for acquiring the finest and most exquisite wines. It is with utmost sincerity that this humble contribution is presented, with the hope of receiving the appreciation and goodwill of those who hold wisdom and understanding. Drawing inspiration from the ancestral traditions of wise women and the deep-rooted knowledge of forest-dwelling folk, this offering seeks to honor their invaluable contributions. May their insights and practices continue to shape all of our understanding of the natural world. It is important to note that this translation is not an attempt to usurp the wisdom of healers and herbalists, but rather a faithful rendition of Master Arnold's teachings, crafted to resonate with the educated common folk of our time. Let it be known that this work is shared with deep respect and admiration for the wisdom held by those who embrace the natural world. This document is shared with you on a day of significance in the year MMX E-Tur, as we celebrate the interconnectedness of nature and the timeless knowledge it bestows. Presented here is the treatise authored by Arnold de Villanova. a distinguished physician in service of the King of France, regarding the preservation and preparation of wines as commissioned by the aforementioned monarch. It has long been my heartfelt desire, as your humble servant, to pay homage to the sacred and ever-victorious royal majesty by kissing the earth at his feet. I have earnestly prayed that some commendable work, born from my modest abilities, would reach the ears of your gracious royal presence. Now, my prayer has been answered. The time has come to delve into the preparation of wines with medicinal properties, particularly focusing on the refinement of white wine, known for its exceptional compatibility with the human body. This wine possesses a subtle nature, allowing it to absorb the essences of all substances pressed into it. It traverses through the body's various parts, delightfully delivering the virtues of these incorporated elements in a natural manner. Experienced philosophers and physicians have highly extolled the virtues of wine, recognizing its inherent qualities within the realm of human nature. Preface, in fact, proclaims, wine not only invigorates the body's innate warmth, but also purifies the blood and opens the passages throughout the entire system. It fortifies the limbs. Wine's excellence is not limited to the physical domain, but also extends to the soul. It bestows merriment upon the soul, relieving it of sorrow. It sharpens the mind, enabling it to delve into intricate and challenging matters. It instills audacity and magnanimity within the individual, while preparing the instruments of the spirit for the soul's endeavors. When consumed in moderation, wine is suitable for every age, occasion, and locale. It counteracts dryness in the elderly, serving as nourishment for the youth due to its resemblance to their vibrant nature. Even children can benefit from its consumption as it increases their natural warmth and acts as a remedy by eliminating excessive moisture inherited from their mother's body. Physicians only frown upon the use of wine by healthy individuals when the quantity or dilution with water is at fault. Wise individuals have likened wine to a potent elixir, possessing paradoxical effects. Its inherent warmth can provide comfort to cold bodies, while its subtle nature allows it to cool accidentally overheated bodies by reaching even the most distant areas, imparting a soothing effect through the introduction of moisture. Hence, it also provides moisture. This is why skilled healers have chosen wine and written numerous chapters about its virtues, declaring it a beneficial blend of various elements for everyday use. Wine truly aligns with human nature, accepting the incorporation of all good spices and counteracting the effects of poor food. This claim is supported by the physician Avenzoar, who stated that wine never spoils either food or medicine. Thus, wine deserves proper attention and care. It serves as a valuable component in the creation of many medicinal preparations, as will be described in detail below, all crafted to honor and glorify His Sacred Royal Majesty. Now, as I have taken it upon myself to write about wine and its virtues, I will first discuss the process of grape harvesting and the proper storage methods to prevent spoilage. Secondly, I will explore the indicators of deteriorating wine. Thirdly, I will delve into the regeneration of spoiled wine. Fourthly, I will explain how and when to decant wines. Fifthly, I will uncover techniques for altering the color and taste of wine, as well as methods for treating boiled wine and other beverages. Sixthly, I will outline the art of spicing wine with spices and the preparation of herbal remedies for the body's well-being. Lastly, I will touch upon the production of vinegar, providing insight into its natural and delicate creation, along with guidance on beer making and long-term preservation. Let us begin with the process of grape gathering. It is important to note that grapes picked before their time are weak and frail, losing their virtue and unable to endure. Conversely, grapes collected after the appropriate time are ailing, affected by frost, cold, or heat. Additionally, attention must be paid to the vats used for storing the grapes gathered at the right time. These vats should be thoroughly cleansed with salt water, followed by diligent fumigation using incense and myrrh once they have dried. Properly prepared vats serve as a protective barrier, preventing wine from spoiling. As the must initiates fermentation, it is advised to add chips of juniper wood, which can be removed once fermentation ceases. Alternatively, a clean linen bag containing hops flowers, rye seeds, fennel, or wood from the myrtle or aloes tree can be suspended in the vine at the onset of fermentation. Whichever method is chosen, it safeguards the must from spoilage during the early stages. In the event of rainy weather during the grape harvest or an excess of water present, if you have added water to the must and wish to separate it from the wine to prevent spoilage, you should immediately transfer the wine after the initial fermentation into another container. The watery part will settle at the bottom due to its weight, coarseness, and earthy nature. To test if water has been mixed with the wine, place a pear in it. If the pear floats on top, the wine is free from water. However, if the pear sinks to the bottom, the wine is indeed mixed with water. Another method is to take a portion of the wine, place it in a sealed jar, and allow it to sit for 3 days or suspended in the air. If the wine is mixed with water, the water will seep out due to the wind, or the wine will turn into vinegar. There are several indicators to identify if wine is becoming sick or starting to spoil. During the grape harvest, take wine lees, or if it's not the harvest season, transfer wine to another container along with lees from the same wine. Seal the container tightly to prevent the escape of vapors. After 3 days, open it and assess the smell. A pleasant aroma suggests good preservation, while a foul odor indicates spoilage. Another approach is to take some wine from the cask and boil it in a new pot. Once cooled, taste it to evaluate its flavor. Some people detect signs of spoilage by smelling the bung of the cask. Alternatively, you can take a sample of the wine and vigorously whip it in a clean pot until it foams. If the foam dissipates immediately, the wine is sound. However, if the foam persists, it signifies a sick wine. Additionally, when pouring good and sound wine into a glass or goblet, the foam will gather in the center, whereas foam from spoiled wine collects on the sides. Similarly, if the wine splashes and small drops emerge from the glass, it is a sign of a well-preserved and sound wine. Conversely, if the wine appears soft as if mixed with oil, and the drops fall slowly like syrup with a slimy sensation when consumed, it indicates spoilage or imminent spoilage. To ensure wine remains untainted for its entire duration, add juniper roots to the must or suspend a small, clean linen bag containing grape or rye blossoms, as well as hops flowers. These measures not only protect the wine from spoilage, but can also revive wine that has already gone bad. Just as hops protect beer from spoiling, why shouldn't wine be protected in a similar and even stronger manner, considering its higher alcohol content? It's worth noting that some wine merchants deceive people during tastings. They make bitter and sour wines appear sweet by having the tasters eat licorice, nuts, old salty cheese, or dishes cooked with flavorful spices beforehand. They also prefer to have wines tasted when the north wind or the midnight wind, known as aquilo, blows. During winter, these winds make wines taste sweeter and stronger. Wine tasters can protect themselves from such tricks by sampling wine in the morning after rinsing their mouths and eating a few bites of bread dipped in water. Tasting wine on an empty or overly full stomach can interfere with the senses. It's also advisable to taste wine when the wind called auster, which comes from midday, blows. In autumn, wines undergo noticeable changes and reveal any weaknesses they may possess during this time. However, as Socrates mentions, the most critical periods for wine to change and for the causes of such changes to be evident are the solstices, when the sun is at its highest or lowest point in our part of the sky. These times occur around the feast days of St. John the Baptist and St. Lucy, as well as during the vine's blossoming. Wine can also spoil naturally due to factors like heat, cold, soft winds, excessive rain, thunder, and lightning. To prevent spoilage from thunder and lightning, take some dough made from rye, wrap it in a linen cloth, and place it in the bunghole, ensuring a tight seal. It may seem unlikely for wine to spoil due to thunder and lightning, but wise individuals claim that. Even beer yeast can be affected by such phenomena, as well as the fragrant thorn flower, rendering it unsuitable for bread making. There are many things beyond human comprehension despite their truth. As the philosopher states, human intelligence is to the visible aspects of nature as a bat's eye is to sunlight. While we may understand the causes of many things, there are still numerous phenomena whose origins remain elusive, as Plato discusses in Timaeus. To safeguard wines from detrimental effects caused by winds and sudden changes, it is recommended to heat the cellars in winter. To prevent the cold from affecting the wine, the cellar should have few small windows that can be opened or closed as desired. The cellar doors should face the north, as those winds are cooler and more refreshing compared to others. Now let's move on to the topic of spoiled wine and the different types of spoilage, as well as how to restore it. For wine that has lost its color, here's a restoration method. Take a cupful of cow's milk and a number of wheat grains used for making bread. Grind the grains until the outer chaff is removed, then wash them with pure water. Thoroughly mix the grains with the milk and then draw off enough wine from the barrel to create space for the mixture. Once the milk and wheat mixture is poured into the barrel, vigorously stir and shake the wine using a split stick or one with holes to ensure thorough mixing. Refill the cask and store it. After 15 days, you will find the wine has regained its color and has a strong taste, as the milk restores the color and the wheat enhances the taste. Another method to restore cloudy and discolored wine is as follows. Take the whites of 24 eggs and vigorously stir them until they become clear. Then take high-quality flour, the kind used for making white rolls, and pure sand or gravel, a cupful of each, along with an equal amount of wine. Mix everything well and divide it into 3 parts. Pour each part into the cask, one after another, stirring roughly with a club or stick with holes until all the mixture has been added. Allow the wine to stand, and it will become clear. To restore weak and cloudy wine, take 1 pound of finely ground almonds, an equal measure of white wheat flour, and a cupful of wine. Mix them well and pour the mixture into the cask. Stir roughly with a club as mentioned earlier and let it stand. The wine will regain its taste and appear fine. Additionally, to clarify the wine, take a cupful or more of grapevine ashes that have been finely sifted. Pour some wine onto the ashes and mix it to create a thin mush. Divide the mixture into 3 parts and pour them into the cask one after another, following the same procedure as mentioned earlier. Stir roughly with a stick, and after allowing it to stand for a while, the wine will become fresh and clear. Alternatively, you can use finely sifted ashes from oak bark, approximately 1 cupful, and pour them into the cask using the same method mentioned above. Some even extinguish burning ivy in the wine, or some people put unburnt ivy into the wine to prevent it from changing. Another method is to add aspen bark to the cask to restore spoiled wine. To prevent wine from spoiling and changing color, cover the bunghole of the cask with a piece of linen cloth and sprinkle well-sifted grapevine ashes on top, creating a layer about 2 or 3 fingers thick. This prevents the wine from evaporating. Place a piece of green sod on the ashes, cut from the earth, and drill 3 or 4 holes through it towards the bunghole, reaching the linen for ventilation. As long as the wine remains in this state, it will not change. Alternatively, seal the bunghole tightly and drill a new hole on top of the cask. Create a stopper for the new hole. When you wish to take wine from the cask, open the stopper, pour out the desired amount of wine, and close it again. This way, the wine will maintain its color. To address other issues that may arise with the wine, if the wine develops a bad smell, take a handful of sage, the same amount of hops, and a split big root of galingale. Place them in a linen bag and suspend it in the cask for 3 or 4 days. This will eliminate the bad smell. However, if you determine that the smell originates from the pitch or the cask itself, transfer the wine to a clean cask and suspend the mentioned materials in it. For the same issue, take fresh crisp bread straight from the oven, break it into 2 parts and place 1 hot part on the bunghole of the cask, while putting the other part back into the oven until it cools. Then, replace the hot part with the cold one, repeating this process to extract any unpleasant odors from the wine. Some people use splinters or shavings of juniper wood, hyssop, or myrtle wood with resin to eliminate bad smells. However, it's necessary to transfer wine with a strong odor to another cask before applying any remedy. If the wine has turned watery and you desire to restore its wine-like color, take toasted virgin honey in a pan and 1/2 pound of powdered peach kernels. Strain this mixture with wine through a linen cloth, add a cup of wine to it, mix well, and pour it into the cask. The wine will acquire a pleasant wine color. If the wine is extremely clear, resembling water, and if the wine lacks the color of wine and appears different, you can restore it by suspending saffron, equivalent to the size of an egg, in the cask for 3 days. This will result in a visually pleasing wine. Note that wine with a pitch-like taste can be restored in the following manner. Transfer it from the cask to a large bucket or vessel to allow the pitch flavor to dissipate. Then, add a sufficient amount of clean parsley, ensuring it is wrapped in a clean linen cloth to prevent any alteration of the wine. Let it stand for 2 days, and afterwards pour the wine back into a non-pitched cask. If the pitch taste persists despite the parsley's efforts, cover it with thorns and suspend sage and hops within it. Similarly, wine with an unpleasant earthy odor can be restored using the same method. To revitalize flat wine, take a cup of well-ground tartar for a barrel and the same amount of grapevine ashes. Draw 2 cups of wine from the cask and thoroughly mix everything together. Pour this mixture into the cask 3 times, stirring vigorously with a club until the wine foams. Collect the foam and pour it back into the cask. Be careful not to fill the cask completely, as it may overflow during stirring. Alternatively, suspend a handful of clean-rooted nettles in the cask. If the nettles have seeds, whether ripe or not, either remove the seeds or wrap the nettles along with the seeds in a linen cloth and suspend them in the wine. This will freshen the wine. Another method involves suspending a cup of well-ground mustard in the wine for 3 days, resulting in a fresh taste. You can also take a cup of the wine you wish to refresh and 1/4 of the measure of salt. Boil this mixture in a new pot on the fire until it boils and foams well. Then pour it hot into the cask and stir vigorously, as mentioned before, until fermentation begins. Finally, suspend a steel or lead leaf in the cask to freshen the wine. In case the wine turns into vinegar or spoils, suspend a cup of leek seeds in it. This will restore the wine to its previous sweetness. Alternatively, for a cask of wine, suspend a cup of well-cleaned wheat from the upper ears and a pound of fresh new wax. This will protect the wine from spoiling. Since I have mentioned the process of drawing off wine from one cask to another, I find it necessary to provide some useful information about it. It is advisable to perform this operation with weak and sick wines during winter, while strong wines are better handled in spring or summer. Additionally, pouring weak wines over the lees of superior wines enhances their quality. It is important to note that wines drawn off during a full moon or when the moon is waxing, particularly when the wind known as Auster blows in autumn, are prone to spoilage. Therefore, for the sake of quality and health, wine should be drawn off when the wind called Boreas blows in winter and when the moon is waning. The process of drawing off the wine should be carried out during favorable weather conditions to prevent any changes in the wine due to shifts in wind and weather, as the celestial movements have an influence on the earthly realm. It is also recommended to perform the drawing off of wine underground to protect it from the adverse effects of weather and wind. These precautions are essential and necessary when transferring wine from one cask to another. Sometimes additions can alter the taste and color of wine. For instance, if a wine is weak and one desires to strengthen it, a barrel of wine can be infused with a quarter each of caraway seeds, sugar, and shavings of H. Each ingredient should be suspended separately in the wine using a small linen bag. This process significantly enhances the wine's strength. Another method involves taking 1 pound of rue seeds, grinding them to a powder, and adding a quarter of sugar. Again, both ingredients should be suspended individually in the wine. This infusion becomes remarkably strong, and those who consume it may experience intoxication due to the heady effects of rue. To transform a naturally white wine into a red one, barberry seeds or shavings of barberry wood can be utilized, depending on the season. These should be thoroughly dried and then suspended in a clean linen bag within the vessel containing the wine. After some time, the wine will take on a red hue. Alternatively, one can dry the petals of red poppy flowers found among the wheat and crush them into a powder. This powder can be placed in the wine using a small linen bag. Now, at the beginning of this treatise, we shall discuss the preparation of wine with roots and herbs for the purpose of promoting bodily health. If you wish to create a spiced wine that strengthens the body and enhances the natural complexion, select the desired spices and grind them well. Add an equal amount of galingale and an equivalent quantity of sugar to the other ingredients. Place this mixture in a clean linen bag and pour the wine through it. Repeat this process 3 or 4 times, straining the wine through the substances in the bag until it has absorbed all the flavorful properties of the spices. Then store this fortified wine in a clean keg, sealing it tightly. This results in a potent beverage that is highly beneficial for the body's health and natural complexion. Whenever we discuss wine made with spices or herbs in the following pages, and do not provide specific instructions regarding its preparation, it should be understood that the wine is to be tempered as previously mentioned, or as will be explained later. In the beginning, we described how to prepare remedies using wine infused with herbs and spices. Now, it is important to ensure that the keg used to store the wine is made from clean, high-quality wood and free from any impurities. The must, which is the juice obtained from ripe grapes after removing any spoiled parts, should be pressed carefully to prevent the wine from turning into vinegar due to the presence of unripe grapes. There are 3 methods for incorporating the ingredients mixed with the wine. The first and preferred method is to boil the spices or herbs in a specific quantity of must until 1/8 of the must has evaporated. Remove any impurities that rise to the surface, let it rest overnight, and strain it through a linen cloth in the morning. Then, mix it with other must according to your taste, transfer it to a cask, and cover the bunghole with a slightly elevated dish. Allow it to ferment in this manner. Once fermentation is complete, seal the bunghole tightly and use the wine whenever needed. The second method involves using fresh herbs. However, if fresh herbs are not available, you can use dried and ground herbs, placed in a small linen bag. Put the bag in a pot with white must, boil until it foams, and then mix it with another wine. Once the mixture has clarified, use as much as required. The third method is to boil the ingredients in old wine over low heat. This can be done quickly and at any time. The resulting wine can be used whenever needed, either on its own or mixed with another wine or water. Since wine easily absorbs different colors, tastes, and flavors, it is crucial to consider whether certain ingredients overpower others. If this is the case, balance it out by tempering the wine with substances of opposite qualities. For example, if it is excessively bitter, sweeten it with sugar or virgin honey. If it is too hot, cool it down with a cold substance, and vice versa. In this way, contraries are corrected by their opposites. Additionally, it is worth noting that some wine preparations require the use of fire, as mentioned earlier, either because it is necessary or because they do not occur naturally. In such cases, we cannot wait for the ideal conditions and must proceed accordingly. This is why the followers of Hermes refer to fire as the sun, while others consider it a substitute for heat. In their secret books, some even claim that what the sun's heat accomplishes deep within the earth over 100 years, fire can achieve in just a single day. Fire has the power to reveal and uncover the true nature of things. Therefore, when fire is required for such purposes, it must be used with utmost care. The preparation of these substances demands caution and diligence, as it is not a trivial matter. Unfortunately, many people are unaware of the remarkable effects fire can have in various crafts. As a result, they often make flawed judgments and face disappointment. In the forthcoming chapters, I will delve into the process of preparing medicinal wines, an extraordinary wine that holds great value and is beneficial for melancholics and various other ailments. A remarkable wine that holds great usefulness and benefits for melancholic individuals who possess a cold and dry nature and complexion. It is also beneficial for those with cardiac issues and difficulties related to burnt bile, especially in the liver and urinary passages. Furthermore, it is beneficial for individuals of bilious nature, characterized by a hot and dry complexion, as it alleviates sadness, brings about joy, and promotes composure and rationality. This wine improves the overall condition of melancholics and corrects the imbalance of humors. It contributes to the production of healthy blood and enhances one's praiseworthy abilities, guided by a rational soul. Here's how it is prepared. Take roots of ox-tongue with the interior marrow removed, senna follicles or skins, red roses, borage flowers, and ox-tongue flowers, each in quantities of 1 pound. Place all these ingredients in a bag and insert the bag into a cask capable of holding 3 donkey loads. Next, take freshly pressed white must and add half of it to the aforementioned ingredients. Boil the other half and skim it immediately, then pour it into the mentioned cask until it is filled with this wine. Once it has fermented and become clear, you can use it throughout the year, particularly in spring, autumn, and winter, to address the mentioned ailments. Borage wine. Borage wine is beneficial for treating cardiac illness, mania, melancholy, and heart tremors. It purifies the blood, dispels negative thoughts, and is useful for various forms of skin ailments like scabies and leprosy. It brings joy and aids in relieving bowel troubles. To make this wine, follow these steps. Take 3 pounds of borage and add it to 7 or 14 pounds of must. Boil the mixture continuously until it becomes clear. This wine enhances vision and provides an energy boost. When consumed in its pure form, it also purifies the blood. There is no need to sweeten it, as the juice itself is naturally sweet. Ox-tongue wine, as described by Macrobius, is prepared by thoroughly cleaning the roots and soaking them in wine until the wine absorbs the taste and potency of the roots. This wine should be consumed steadily, as it helps eliminate melancholic, choleric, and burnt humors through urine. It restores the brain that has been affected by melancholic vapors. Additionally, I would like to add that it has the power to heal the insane and those with mental impairment who require restraint, restoring their reason. I can testify to this from personal experience, as I once witnessed a woman from Paris who frequently lost her senses due to anger and melancholy, becoming incoherent and requiring confinement. However, she was cured when a pilgrim seeking charity at her home provided her with the aforementioned remedy. Raisin wine. Raisin wine is prepared in the following manner. Take 3 pounds of fat raisins and 2 ounces of peeled and finely ground cinnamon. Boil them together with a quantity of must, and then pour the mixture into a cask containing more must. Allow it to clarify for 12 days, after which it will become delicious and clear. While it is in the cask, it must be stirred frequently. Once it has clarified, it can be used, especially during winter. This wine is suitable for elderly individuals who are unwell, as well as for melancholic and phlegmatic individuals. It particularly aids in weight gain for women. It provides relief for chest discomfort, strengthens the stomach, nourishes the liver, and fortifies it. It warms the blood, counteracts putrefaction, and alleviates nausea and stomach mucus. It is also beneficial for coughs and asthma, naturally loosening hardened bowels and firming loose bowels, such as in cases of dysentery and similar conditions. It has the ability to enhance both the retaining and expelling functions of the body. It is beneficial for shortness of breath and cardiac ailments, and its greatest virtue lies in eliminating excessive humors and uncontrolled moisture. When used regularly, it prevents the formation of ulcers in the body. Those who consistently consume this wine will be spared from diseases caused by harmful humors as ordained by God. Purgative wine. To make natural purgative wine, follow these reliable steps. Cut growing vines lengthwise and extract the marrow. Then insert hellebore, known as Helleborus niger in Latin. Spurge, referred to as Esula in Latin, or any other potent laxative into the vines. Close and bind the vine branches as is customary in grafting. This way, the inserted substance will mix with the humors and, as the grapes grow, result in purgative grapes and ultimately purgative wine. Rosemary wine. Regarding wine made from rosemary, Galen recounts, "During my time in Babylon, I encountered an elderly pagan physician. After much persuasion, he revealed to me the remarkable virtues of rosemary, which he had guarded as a secret not to be shared with anyone. He claimed that the potency of rosemary is unparalleled when a wine is made from it, as well as a bath, an oil extracted from its flowers that possesses the same effect as balm, and finally an electuary made from the herb's flowers combined with brandy. Rosemary wine is prepared using the same method as the aforementioned wines. This wine possesses extraordinary qualities as it is beneficial for all cold-related ailments. It improves the appetite, uplifts the spirit with its pleasant aroma, strengthens the entire body, corrects the sinews, enhances facial beauty when used for washing, and imparts a pleasant taste when consumed. When applied to the head, it prevents hair loss and promotes hair growth. It safeguards against ulcers and eliminates harmful humors and melancholy. By its inherent virtue, it fortifies the substance of the heart, thus preserving youthfulness. Perhaps those who regularly use it will not experience bodily decay. When used for dental hygiene, it strengthens both the teeth and gums, providing a pleasant taste in the mouth. Cancer, when frequently washed with it, is healed. Fistulas and similar ulcers are dried out and corrected by its application. Moreover, when someone has become weak due to prolonged illness and consumes bread soaked in this wine, it restores the appetite and strengthens the weakened body parts. This wine, when diluted with rainwater, particularly with a decoction of its flowers, and consumed regularly, cures tuberculosis and hectic fever, characterized by chest pus accumulation. It is also effective against daily and quartan fevers, as well as for diseases affecting the posterior part of the brain that lead to forgetfulness. It is beneficial for cardiac ailments, nausea, and dysentery. Furthermore, one of its remarkable qualities is its ability to serve as an antidote against poison and poisonous food, acting as a great safeguard in drinks and meals. It boosts weakened forces and is suitable for those suffering from paralysis and tremors. It alleviates gout and is especially beneficial for women, particularly those with a moist complexion. It also corrects the position of the uterus within the body and aids in childbirth. Wine for the congestion of the spleen, liver, and jaundice. To make a wine for treating congestion of the spleen, liver, and jaundice. Follow these steps. Take the roots and leaves of chicory, known as cicoria in Latin, spleenwort, which has 3 span-long leaves and is called scolopendria in Latin, endive, from which milk is produced when torn, and a small amount of absinthe. Boil or warm up these ingredients and place them in a small bag. Pour the wine repeatedly through the herbs, similar to making claret. If the bitterness is too strong, you can add raisins or another sweet ingredient to enhance the taste. This wine is marvelous in its effectiveness, and the quality of the wine is influenced by the condition of the cask in which it is stored. Wine in which gold has been quenched. Wine in which gold has been quenched possesses great virtues for many conditions and is made in the following manner. Immerse a gold leaf 4 or 5 times in good wine. Allow the wine to clarify and store it. This wine strengthens the heart and eliminates excess impurities in the blood and heart substance. Its purity clarifies the spirit, while its strength fortifies it, and in this balanced state, it moderates it. It safeguards the blood from harmful mixtures and purifies it. Its potency helps eliminate excess substances. It preserves youthfulness, and its mineral properties instill perseverance in one's work. It aids in expelling retained urine and is beneficial for epilepsy, lunacy, and leprosy. Wine for memory. A wine that enhances memory and is effective against forgetfulness can be prepared as follows. Take ginger, long pepper, and galangale, 2 ounces of each, cloves and cubebs, the ounce of each, and Indian nut, 1 ounce and 1 V2 drachms. Create a powder by combining all these ingredients, carefully binding them in a small bag, and placing them in 7 pounds of good fermenting wine. Seal the container tightly to preserve its flavor and allow it to clarify. Use this wine whenever needed, keeping the bag inside. It is also beneficial for warming cold individuals and drying out those with excess moisture. It aids in relieving flatulence caused by harmful moisture. Eyebright wine. Eyebright wine is made by infusing the herb into must, resulting in a wine known as eyebright wine. When this wine is used, it cleanses the eyes of impurities and rejuvenates them. It also addresses various eye conditions and vision defects in people of all ages and complexions, whether they are naturally phlegmatic or overweight. This herb possesses hot and dry properties, making the wine derived from it unmatched in eye treatment. Reliable individuals who have tested it on themselves have testified to its effectiveness. They have experienced improved vision, enabling them to read small letters without the aid of glasses. If the wine is too potent, it can be diluted with fennel water, and sugar can be added if necessary. Elecampane wine. To make elecampane wine, follow these steps. Take elecampane roots, known as Inula campana in Latin, wash and dry them thoroughly, and cut them into pieces. Then take fresh must juice from the press and cook the roots in a cauldron or new pot until the bark can be peeled off. Strain the liquid and return the roots to it. Once it has cooled to lukewarm, pour it into a cask with must and let it ferment. The same process can be applied to make sage wine. Elecampane wine is beneficial for stiff sinews caused by cold, stomach aches from cold sources, chest pains, and cold-related coughing. Master Apocker states that elecampane wine relieves anger and sorrow, strengthens the heart, cleanses the chest, eliminates excess from the kidneys through urine, and in women through menstruation. Additionally, wine in which elecampane has stood for 3 days has marvelous effects on vision purification. Sage wine. Sage wine can be made in various ways, such as suspending sage in a keg or boiling it. Regardless of the method used, it should be prepared in a way that preserves its virtue and prevents spoilage or alteration. When made properly, sage wine is marvelous for treating gum illnesses, loose and painful teeth, and particularly for addressing issues with sinewy body parts. It strengthens weakened and afflicted members affected by harmful mucus and watery humors, as seen in paralysis and spasms. I have personally observed the positive effects of sage wine on individuals suffering from spasms and sinew-related ailments. By applying the wine topically and consuming it with meals, they experience frequent cures, yielding certain and remarkable results. This wine is also helpful against epilepsy and ailments of the stomach and womb, as these are sinewy body parts. Hyssop wine. Hyssop wine possesses the ability to expel, consume, and attract. It should be combined with licorice. This wine has rejuvenating properties and is beneficial for wet cough and epilepsy, especially in children. It also dries and heals humid body parts like the lungs and womb when used for washing. Hyssop wine promotes a clear voice due to the herb's warm nature. Additionally, it is suitable for individuals with dropsy. Wine that strengthens all principal members and maintains their health can be prepared as follows. Take 2 ounces of white ginger, 1/2 ounce of cardamom, 1/4 ounce of cinnamon bark, 1 drachm of mastic, 1 ounce of coriander, 1/4 ounce of red roses, 1 pound of honey or sugar, and 1 keg of good wine. This wine should be made similarly to claret, wine that enhances overall body strength. To make wine that strengthens the entire body, follow these steps. Take 1 drachm each of cubibs, cloves, ginger, and raisins. Boil them in 3 pounds of the finest wine until it reduces by 1/3. During the boiling process, add 3 ounces of rosewater and sugar. Consume 2 ounces or less of this wine in the morning and evening. When used, this wine fortifies the brain and natural strength, alleviates nasal congestion, and benefits individuals of all ages. It is particularly helpful for shortness of breath, heart ailments, limb pains, stomach coldness, and the elimination of excessive bodily moisture resulting from various functions. It provides proper warmth, aids digestion, and promotes the production of healthy blood. It is effective against abdominal flatulence and addresses womb-related conditions caused by coldness or excessive moisture, which hinder conception. Additionally, it proves useful in treating nausea, dysentery, and various digestive issues. This wine strengthens all aspects of one's spiritual well-being, making it beneficial for the healthy as well as those suffering from chronic or cold-related diseases that have left their major bodily systems weak and compromised. It serves as a life elixir and offers remarkable relief for coughs and heart-related problems. Fennel wine. Wine made from fennel seeds is beneficial for improving vision in cases of eye darkness. It stimulates sexual desire and provides relief from dropsy and leprosy. I have personally tested its effects on children and found the claims to be true. It acts as an antidote against toxic and harmful foods. Fennel wine is effective for treating coughs, lung ailments, and it aids in increasing milk production and fertility. When this wine is made using fennel roots, it helps with kidney issues and cures bladder-related diseases by purifying bodily matter and alleviating women's ailments. Furthermore, fennel seed wine is particularly effective in relieving nausea and pleurisy. It aids in the expulsion of flatulence and improves digestion. It also relieves congestion in the spleen and liver, providing soothing relief for bodily pains and discomfort. Anise wine. Anise wine is known for its ability to relieve congestion in internal pathways and passages. It provides protection against colic, flatulence, and aids in improving digestion while preventing excessive belching. This wine is particularly suitable for nursing women as it opens the pores, promotes blood circulation, and enhances milk production while correcting watery milk. When sugar is added, it helps alleviate kidney pain in cases of kidney ailments caused by flatulence or stones. I have found no quicker remedies than this wine and the preparations Diadergantu and Dianesu. They swiftly alleviate pain and aid in the expulsion of stones by purging the kidneys. This wine can be prepared with or without the use of fire. Winter cherry wine. Winter cherry wine, also known as alcakengi or red apple wine, from the fruit of the Physalis alcakengi, is made from the fruits collected during the grape harvest season. These fruits resemble cherries, filled with seeds similar to fig seeds and have red husks, offering a delicious and slightly bitter taste. To preserve them, you can store them in their husks throughout the year, preventing them from rotting or drying out. When you are ready to use them, take 5 or 6 or more of these apples, grind them with good wine, strain the mixture, and drink it. This wine immediately stimulates urine flow, regardless of any prior retention, and effectively removes sandy particles from the kidneys and bladder in significant quantities, making it seem as if you could collect them by hand. Frequent use of this wine helps alleviate such pains. I recall a cardinal in my time who had not urinated for 3 days and experienced swelling and bloating. No other remedy provided relief until an unknown doctor advised him to drink this wine, which resulted in a significant discharge of urine, leading to his complete recovery. Clove wine. To make clove wine, place cloves in a small bag and suspend it in a cask of must. This wine has a very dry nature and possesses the power to expel, consume, dry, and attract. It is beneficial for relieving chronic asthma, persistent coughs with putrid symptoms, as well as epilepsy and shortness of breath. It enhances digestion and contributes to fresh breath. However, the addition of sugar and licorice reduces its dryness. In general, aromatic wine is made by placing the spices in a small bag and suspending it in a cask of wine or must. This allows the taste and effect of the wine to be influenced by the specific spices used, whether they provide a warm or cold sensation or any desired characteristics. For a cough, hoarseness, and asthma, a wine infused with the properties of anise, fennel, and licorice is created. The amount of licorice used should be twice as much as the other spices. This wine should be consumed continuously as it is both pleasant and effective. To enhance the beauty of women and achieve a fair, delicate, and pleasant complexion, a flavorful wine can be made. Ginger and cinnamon bark are added to wine and distilled in a similar manner to rose water. This wine is beneficial for individuals with cold complexions and various ailments, especially paralysis affecting the limbs. There is a wine that can be customized to any desired taste. It is fitting for elegant gatherings and particularly suitable for gentlemen who wish to showcase a variety of exceptional wines. Additionally, it serves as a remedy for different ailments depending on the choice of spices used. The process is as follows. Steep herbs or spices of your preference in brandy for a day and night to infuse the brandy with their properties. Then, add a small amount of this infused brandy to the wine you intend to drink, allowing the wine to adopt the taste and characteristics of the infused substance. The finest wine, known for its ability to control bloody flux and strengthen the stomach, is made by combining equal quantities of quince juice, clear wine, and rose water. Wormwood wine, despite its dry taste, possesses significant powers in addressing the so-called melancholic temperament in individuals. It can be prepared by adding green or dried wormwood to wine. Alternatively, a better method involves placing fresh or dried wormwood in a small bag or container and repeatedly straining the wine, whether hot or cold, through it until the wine absorbs the taste and properties of the herb. Adequate amounts of sugar and honey should be added. This method yields better extraction of the herb's potency. The wine is beneficial for the intestines, effective against intestinal worms and hidden mucus in the abdominal cavity and secret areas. It possesses the ability to expel, open up, and consume. Moreover, it possesses the power and virtue to strengthen. It aids in cases of stomach flux, spleen and liver congestion, and jaundice. It proves useful for those experiencing mental confusion and restores lost speech. It provides assistance against poisoning and poisonous cold. When used, it enhances vision, aids digestion, stimulates urine flow, and relieves menstrual discomfort. It eliminates crude humor from the belly, counteracts poison, and when the vapor of the wine is directed into the ears through a funnel, it helps with deafness. Washing wounds with it prevents the growth of fistulas or unhealthy tissue. It treats scabrous skin. Prior consumption of the wine before a sea voyage alleviates nausea and vomiting. It also proves beneficial during times of epidemic, protecting those who move about and care for the sick, as it prevents harmful airborne toxins. Some individuals consume it regularly in spring and claim to be free from illness throughout the year. It induces sleep and relieves pain from swellings and limb ailments. Gargling with the wine is effective for tongue tumors. It offers benefits for many other ailments. According to Macrobius, in ancient times, this herb was highly esteemed, and its juice was given to army commanders as a symbol of good fortune before battle, believed to ensure victory and glory. Watered wine. Watered wine is highly beneficial. I personally knew a highly esteemed physician who exclusively consumed watered wine. There is no better wine, especially for those who are unwell. Wine and water blend together harmoniously. The strong and intense qualities of the wine, such as its vapor and potency, are tempered by the addition of water. Conversely, the coolness and moisture of the water are naturally transformed by the dryness and warmth of the wine. Thus, a blended and moderated substance is created. It is important that the water used comes from a fresh and reliable source, such as a pristine fountain, and the wine and water should be mixed before being served. Some individuals, particularly gentlemen and prelates, have the practice of adding water to the wine right before drinking it. However, this can lead to discomfort, flatulence, and indigestion of the stomach. The reason behind this indigestion is the opposing nature of wine and water, which hampers the digestive process. On the other hand, when wine and water, with their previously opposing qualities, are blended together, the water is better tolerated by the wine despite its initial coldness and moisture. Simultaneously, the wine, with its heat and dryness, becomes milder and more moderate, resulting in a mixed substance that is easier to digest. This phenomenon can be observed clearly in a glass where one can witness the motion between the two components. The wine rises while the water sinks, displaying the struggle between these two opposing substances as they merge. However, after some time, the blending process comes to a halt. And that is the opportune moment to drink the watered wine. Now, let's delve further into the topic of vinegar, which I mentioned earlier. It's important to note that there are various types of vinegar and different methods of making it. One method involves taking a vinegar jar filled halfway with old wine and exposing it to the sun or heat until it turns into vinegar. Another approach is to take a jar that previously contained vinegar, ensuring it still carries the vinegar's aroma. Fill the jar halfway with wine, seal it tightly, and place it in a kettle filled with boiling water. Let it boil for a while, and the wine will transform into vinegar. Alternatively, take a clean jar and fill it with wine, at least halfway. Obtain a sour rye yeast about the size of an egg or fist, wrap it in a linen cloth, and place it in the jar near a source of heat to keep it warm. Eventually, it will turn into vinegar. Another method involves heating a steel leaf, quenching it 3 times in good vinegar, and keeping the leaf. When in urgent need of vinegar, heat the leaf and submerge it in wine. The wine will immediately convert into vinegar. Furthermore, you can boil wine in a clean pot or kettle, skim off any impurities, seal the pot tightly, bury it in the earth for 3 days, and then retrieve it to boil once again. This will result in vinegar. Additionally, take grape seeds and plenty of skins from pressed grapes. Thoroughly dry them, grind them into a powder, and mix it with the finest vinegar. Allow the powder to dry in the sun, repeating this process 3 times. Store the powder, and whenever you require vinegar in a hurry, add a small amount of the powder to wine. It will promptly turn into vinegar. The same method can be applied using tartar, which yields vinegar quickly. It's worth noting that when preserving the potency of any vinegar, it is advisable to use a large stopper made from white willow to cover the bung or hole. The stopper should be of considerable length, but should not touch the bottom. This wood possesses a sour taste similar to vinegar, and due to its unique flavor, it possesses the remarkable ability to preserve and enhance the acidity of vinegar. Moreover, one can create a very strong vinegar from beer in the following manner. Begin by taking the first and finest malt and heating it near a fire until it becomes too hot to hold in your hand. Then combine it with damp lees from old beer. This mixture induces fermentation in the beer malt, transforming it into vinegar. If the resulting vinegar is not sufficiently strong, one can add wood from white willow and it will quickly acquire strength. In a previous discussion, methods for preserving beer were mentioned. If you desire to prolong the shelf life of beer, gather a plentiful supply of mild wheat ears during the summer and dry them under the sun. Around St. Michael's Day, place these dried wheat ears into a clean beer keg and pour the beer over them. This technique helps the beer maintain its freshness for an extended period. Whenever you consume the beer, refill the keg with good, pure beer while ensuring the wheat ears are preserved. Additionally, to prevent beer from losing its fizz or turning into vinegar, some individuals grind bryony and suspend it in the keg. Similar practices are employed with laurel and other substances.